channel. Today I am going to be doing a story time. I don't know if this is a bad idea or not, or a great idea, or if it doesn't matter what kind of idea it is, but it might be a bad idea. No, I don't think it's really that bad of an idea. I think it's gonna be okay. But I'm gonna tell you about my stalker that I think is gone now, but yeah, I'm gonna tell you about that story, the time I had a stalker. If you are completely new to this channel and have absolutely no idea that I am a barista, I talk about it pretty often, but if you don't know that, I'm a barista. And if you're a barista, you would know that people get very attached to you very easily. I don't know what it is about baristas, but them seeing you every morning, maybe you're the first person they see besides their family, maybe they live alone and you're the first person they see every day. I don't know, but people like just get obsessed with baristas and I just like don't understand. It's kind of creepy. For the most part, you kind of get to know people in a good way, like they become like friends to you and stuff like that. But there's times where people think because you know their order, now you want to have their babies and you want to live with them happily ever after, whether it's your choice or not. That's what this story is about, I think. This guy was, started off normal, don't they all? He was always a little bit odd. I'm gonna be careful what I say because this is the internet and anyone can see this, including him if he really wanted to. I don't really think he's dangerous. It just was kind of a really weird situation, and I don't get like scared easily of people, and he just made me really uneasy. Like, I now have pepper spray and a taser because of this situation, because it just made me feel like I wasn't completely safe, and I always had felt safe before that, and now I just kind of like I'm always watching my back just because you never know, people can be kind of crazy. So I work at a different place now than I used to work, but at my old job I had worked there for a few years, like 3 years, and this guy started to be a customer about a year ago. He was a customer for like a year or two before it started to get weird. He would come really early in the morning, and he worked for like a junk company or something, and he would come and get coffee in the morning, and wasn't like super creepy or anything. He just was a little different. I don't know, not really in a bad way, just like maybe a little bit socially awkward, but like he was nice. He would just ask about my day and stuff, and when you're there early in the morning, you're the only one there, and it was like in a downtown area, so it was kind of sketchy anyway. I always kind of felt a little bit unsafe there, but like he didn't creep me out or anything in the beginning. He was a lot more normal, and he would just come get coffee. He was like really interested in my life very quickly, but like I'm used to that. That happens a lot. Baristas would understand. Like, people just get really attached to you really quickly because you might be like the only person that talks to them that day or asks them how their day is, and that's the cool part of the job. So I'm used to people like feeling really attached very quickly, but that's just like, that's what comes with the job. He was just kind of like that in the beginning, and like just would get really interested in my life. And obviously I don't share like super personal things with customers because, you know, they're still a stranger, so I don't really tell them everything about my life, but I would tell them like a little bit, like just like the broad spectrum of like what's going on in my life and stuff like that. I started to like enjoy him as a customer. Like, he was just friendly and stuff, and was always respectful, would always tip us nicely and all that stuff. Then he disappears. Like, literally didn't see him. I used to see him every day, and then I stopped seeing him for like 6 months to 8 months, and I kind of like forgot. I don't know, because you see hundreds of people a day. I kind of forgot, and then one day he came back after like 8 months, and I was like, oh yeah, like this dude used to come here, and he was driving a really nice car, which I'm not going to say like what it is or anything. But I had come to find out, I don't really know how I found this out, but I think his grandpa died and left him some money, and so he went to go buy this car, and I'm pretty sure he lost his job. That's why I would stop seeing him in the morning. He didn't come anymore in his work truck. All that kind of stuff started to add up. Oh, dying. Also, if you're wondering what this is the handle to my camera. I'm just playing with it because, you know, ADD, but what's new? Everyone knows that. He started to come more regularly again, and I kind of was like, oh, I kind of forgot about him, and he just was different. Like, he seemed like a different guy, but not really in a bad way, just like kind of seemed different. And I remembered his name. Let's call him Alan. And that's not his real name, obviously. I'm not gonna share that. But I was like, oh, hey Alan, like I haven't seen you in a while. How have you been? Da, da, da. And he like, I think he actually might have been the one that told me, but I think he said that his grandpa, you know, died. He inherited some money, and he quit his job because he inherited money, which PS, inherited money is not going to last you forever. If you don't know how to manage it, you still kind of need a job. But he was just enjoying his time away from having to work and whatever, like just living his life. And I was like, okay, cool. Like, I guess that's cool if that's what you want to do. Then I just started to roll again. The dude like disappeared and was back, and he was back for good. So he started to come every day after that and would ask me out all the time, like all the time. Would ask me to go to like basketball games with him, to football games with him, to concerts with him. And the first couple times I was like, no, I'm not really. Oh my gosh, I totally forgot this. Okay, this is super important. But the day soon after I think he lost his job, job or quit his job. I don't really know what he did, but stopped seeing him in the morning because of his work truck. He came up and like looked like a totally different guy. Like normally was really nice and respectful, and he came up kind of like forcefully and aggressive a little bit. He was always just like a respectful guy, and he was like asked me out in front of my boss, who's like this old man, and asked me out in front of him, and I was like, what? And I laughed because I kind of thought he was kidding, because this guy is like at least double my age. Okay, he's actually not, but he looks like he is, but he's quite a bit older than I am. So I kind of laughed and I was like, no. And he was like, wait, what's the problem? Like, is it because I'm too old or da da da? And I said, I mean, that's one of many reasons, but I'm just not interested. He was like, well, what could I do to have you change your mind or whatever? And I was like, there is no way for me to change my mind. I said I wouldn't date. I said it's just my personal rule, but I wouldn't date any customer. I just don't want that kind of relationship with customers. And also I don't know you guys, so I don't know, like I'm not gonna put myself in that situation. Had weird vibes about him. It just was all weird. And I was like, no. And he was like, well, how can I get you to change your mind? And I was like, you can't. And he was like, well, why won't you say yes? And I was like, well, I have the right to say no, and my answer is no, so thanks for asking, but I'm not interested. He was like, oh, okay, fine. I'm like really disappointed, and like literally looked like he was gonna cry. This is a grown man. I was like, odd. And my boss just kind of looked and he was like, that was weird. I was like, yeah, you're telling me. He just asked me out in front of you. That was just all very awkward. He left, but that part was really important because that was when I felt like it started to change. Because before that, he was just like always nice and respectful. How was your day? How are you doing? Da, 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 would leave. And then once he asked me out and I said no, then like I think in his brain, this is what it seemed like anyway, but in his brain it felt like he just like got, I don't know, like he was just motivated to get me to say yes. And so when he inherited all this money from his grandpa, the way that I perceived it was that he was now using that money to try to win me over, which, sorry, I'm not a gold digger, so like it's just not gonna work, especially if you're like an old man. So he really just didn't have my style, right? Like, yeah, anyway, so he started to like ask me out to all these things that like cost a lot of money. I was like, no, thank you, I'm not interested, which honestly sometimes it was kind of tempting because I was like, man, I really want to go to that game, like that would be really fun, but not with him. So I said no, and I kept saying no, and he just didn't understand. And he's like, do you not like games, or do you not like music? And I was like, no, I do, I just don't want to go with you. And I was never mean. Like, let me just tell you, I'm never like mean to people, but I'm very direct, and I had told him no multiple times, and he kept coming back. And like that was when I felt like the line started to be crossed, because I'm like, if a girl says no, and not only once but multiple times, and says she's not interested, you need to just give up. I know some people say that like you need to be persistent and keep chasing after people, but there's a point where that becomes creepy and the girl just wants to be left alone. Also, this is my place of work. Like, I was just trying to do my job, and he would pull up in the line and ask me out. He wouldn't even get a drink, he would just ask me out every day. It was just exhausting. I'm actually going to break this story up into 2 parts because it's kind of long. This is part 1. Thank you for watching part 1. If you want to hear how it ends, then watch part 2, which I will post in a couple days. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in part 2.